Firstly, thank you everyone for attending my tech talk on cloud migration. I'm Tristan Little and I'll be your second presenter today. Firstly, yes, Sashin, I did decide to shove cloud down your throats. Secondly, yeah. Secondly, I'd like to thank Sashin for his wonderful presentation on cloud value. And now that we have an understanding of what the value that cloud brings to the table, we can start to dive into what a migration sort of entails, and this will be at a very high level. The topics I'm going to be covering is the 6 R's, which are migration strategies, the 3 phases of migration, and then I'm going to cover MServe broadly in terms of what we do. So I'm going to start off on the question, what is cloud migration for those of you that don't know? A cloud migration is when a company moves some or all of its data center capabilities over to the cloud. There's obviously quite a few service providers or cloud service providers out there. We tend to leverage AWS, but there's obviously Azure, Alibaba, and Google Cloud. So the 6 R's, the strategies for cloud. I'm going to start off with the first 2, retain and retire, because in my opinion, these aren't really strategies, but more decisions. So what happens here is after analysis, we realize in the case of retain that, we've identified that we want to leave this system or application as is, and we're going to leave it at that, as the name depicts. Same with retire. We analyze and realize that maybe there's not really any real value within this application or system, and it reaches end of life. We finally get to re-architect, which is a serious strategy and quite a costly one at that. This is due to the fact that we are going to take the system, break it down to its bare bones from a monolithic design, and integrate it into a more microservices and decouple the design to take advantage of the cloud and redesign it in a more cloud native manner. Rehost, this is called lift and shift, and this is exactly what it is. We're going to pick it up and move it to the cloud, and it's almost as simple as that. Replatform is a little bit of a mixture between rehost and re-architect, and what this is we're going to lift, tinker. So we're going to identify components within the system that we want to change, and we're going to move it across. And our final one, repurchase. This is one that all the ladies tend to love because this is where we drop and shop. So essentially what this entails is a licensing change, where we identify that an application that we have on-premise has similar value or can perform similar capabilities to one that is already leveraged on the cloud, and then go shopping on AWS Marketplace. And after dropping our licensing, we're going to pick up a new one for a similar application. As you can see on the screen, there are 3 highlighted strategies. These are ones, as you can imagine, that we as BBD tend to perform the most during our migrations. So there's a time and a place for each strategy, and this doesn't necessarily mean from client to client, but within a client's very own environment. As a client may or may not be leveraging a few systems and integrating them for their environment and infrastructure, and this would entail us using or leveraging different strategies during the migration in order to get the best outcome for them. On the screen, you can see the difference between the strategies in terms of effort, so cost and time, and opportunity to optimize. I just want to speak about rehost. As I said, it's lift and shift. So there's no real change in the application itself, but as you can see, there is opportunity to optimize, and this is due to us hosting it on the cloud, and there's always opportunity to optimize once you're on the cloud. So now that you understand the strategies, we move on to the migration. 3 phases: assess, mobilize, and migrate. We're going to start off with the assess phase. So this phase is there for us to engage with our client and identify their strengths and weaknesses and understand them inside and out. This phase generally kicks off with a light-hearted discussion with the client, and we're going to sort of understand their goals and their environments at a very high level to try and identify whether or not cloud is maybe the correct option for them. If we identify this and we get commitment from the client, we move on to a deeper dive. And for this deeper dive, we have a couple of tools in our arsenal. Firstly, we have a discovery agent that we specifically inject into the client's environment. And this tool is crazy. What it ends up doing is mapping all the interdependencies between applications, servers, databases for applications. Excuse me, I'll be circling back to that one in a little bit. Secondly, we have an MRA, or Migration Readiness Assessment. And as the name depicts, it is exactly that. We use this tool to identify whether or not our client is ready for their move and sort of identify their shortfalls and maybe their strengths. As you can see on the screen, on your left, my right, far right, is just an example output of what Cloudemize can give us. It's, as you can see, this is the mapping between the servers and applications. And this is just one of the things Cloudemize is able to do for us. For example, build and move groups and design your migration plan. So this Cloudemize allows us to build move groups, and what that is a migration isn't necessarily a big lift and move across. It doesn't all happen all at once. It's generally a sequential process where we move workload by workload into the cloud, and this assists with our migration plan. Next is our MRA, which is an AWS hosted questionnaire of plus minus 80 questions. On the screen, you can see a radar chart that is built around the cloud adoption framework with the following 7 pillars and a rating from 1 to 5 that justifies how your business is currently doing in those specific pillars. Another output we get from the MRA is a scorecard on specific line items, and we go through that also with a rating of 1 to 5, but the important part that we get is the business case. And this is not the business case that I'm going to be speaking on in a little bit, but more per those line items identified in the scorecard, we receive recommendations and potential action items to put in the business case for our clients to be actioned on. Now, before I get to the mobilize phase, the business case that we generally have at the end of the assessment phase, which is the goal of the assessment phase, generally includes a TCO, or total cost of ownership, which is a comparison between us migrating to the cloud or the as-is state of the current environment. Also 3 to 5 year outlooks on costing, as I said, the recommendations, so on and so forth. But this is more of a formal document than the one you saw. Now, the mobilize phase is there for, in layman's terms, for us to get all our ducks in a row. So essentially, this allows us to mobilize our workforce and resources. And apart from that, it gives us an opportunity to align our tooling, our processes, and our culture to be able to accelerate our migration at scale. The goal here of the mobilize phase is obviously the migration itself, but that is a phase on its own. And here we'd end up building the migration plan and discuss security, risk, and compliance considerations with the client. I would like to mention that the mobilize and assess phase are generally not necessarily directly in parallel, but can be performed at the same time. As you're assessing, you want to gear yourself ready for the migration to make it as smooth as possible. Along with the mobilize phase, we establish a landing zone. So the landing zone is a well-architected multi-account AWS environment that acts and serves as a shell for our migration. As you can see on the screen, there's not many services within this environment, but this is, as I said, just the shell. It's supposed to just outline our migration. Lastly, we have our migration. Well done, guys. You guys are here. This is the final step in our migration. This is the physical move of capabilities onto the cloud. And obviously, because We've done all our planning. We've done everything we could. The migration is obviously going to be a great success, as it normally does in the development world. As long as you do your planning, the deployment will go great. Now, this brings me to our last topic, MServe. So as some of you may or may not know, MServe is BBD's very own internalized cloud division. Our responsibilities lie within the migration in terms of infrastructure. So this includes CI/CD pipelines, networking, the landing zone, accounts, and so on. You guys get the picture. But apart from that, we're also responsible for post-migration management or managed services, hence the name MServe. So what this entails is us monitoring our clients' environments using metrics and assisting them and making recommendations on the environment in terms of efficiency and cost optimization, so that our clients can get the best out of the cloud. So what this as well as the post-migration, so sorry, I'm going to step back. The migration is the post-migration management entails us monitoring, obviously, as I said, so that our clients can get the best out of the cloud. And apart from that, if anything goes wrong, infrastructure side, that we remediate any issues that may arise. That concludes my tech talk on cloud migration. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. I'll be available for any questions afterwards. Thank you.
Thank you, Tristan. So we have a question in the chat. On an earlier slide, it indicated that there's no opportunity to optimize retained software component systems. I'm not convinced. Can we chat about this?
Yeah, we can talk about it. Now, the reason there isn't any opportunity to optimize there is because, as I said during the talk, it's a point where we decide to leave the application or the system as is. So that's essentially why it was graphed like that, because we're leaving it untouched. Yeah, we're not involved at all, and the client has decided no go.